Hello and welcome to Radio Row here at the NFL Convention Center in Los Angeles. My name is Santino Maoni, and alongside me I have my co-host Vanessa Blasi. Vanessa, how you doing?
I'm good, Santino. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you on Radio Row at Super Bowl Press Week. I can't wait to get into all the amazing content that we've been creating this week.
To start off, Rams beat reporter Lo Yarnell met up with the fastest man on two hands, Zion Clark.
I am here with Zion Clark, wrestler, actor, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and amongst a bunch of other things, so quite a resume yourself. But I want to talk about your experience as an athlete, specifically starting with high school. So talk to me a little bit how your life changed when you started high school sports.
When I got to high school, I was absolutely the worst wrestler you probably would have came across. Freshman year, 0 wins. Sophomore year, 0 wins. Junior year, one win. And then I made some changes and some adjustments. I went from being one of the worst wrestlers in the state to one of the best in the state, and after that, one of the best in the country. I just was pushing my limits every day. I go to like 3-4 different wrestling practices a day, work with different people. I was blessed with the opportunity to work with an Olympian that lived a couple houses down that got third in the Olympics. His name's Nate Carr.
How did your recruiting process start in high school? I know you went to Kent State, so how did you were picking between a few different schools, so what was it about that school in particular that drew you to that?
Part of the reason was they are an esteemed wrestling school to start with, and on top of that, you know, some of my homies ended up going there and wrestling too, so I was like, why not? Well, like, let's all just run it up together, you know?
How did you come about the decision to make that transition to the MMA?
I've grown up just watching UFC, people fighting. I grew up fighting myself just to try to survive in life. You know, I used to get bullied and beat up, and that wasn't fun. So I kind of made it up in my mind that I'm going to be the stronger dude. I'm going to be the faster dude. I'm going to be the more agile dude. Nobody's going to mess with me by the time I'm done working on myself. Some of the biggest names in the world when it comes to fighting, and they just like welcome me into their gym. So I was like, oh, man, if they're accepting like this, I'm going to give it everything I got. And then I made up my mind. That was 3 years ago.
How have you handled that transition into the spotlight, which is only going to increase as your endeavors continue?
Act like it's not even happening. Honestly, when it comes to being in the spotlight, people coming up, I will always want to inspire people. I will always point people in the right direction because that's how my mama raised me. You know, but when it comes to being in the spotlight, I could lose everything today and still be humble with my life because I know what makes me happy. I know I like to wrestle. I know I like to fight. I know I like to race. I like moving fast. Being in the spotlight is no different. You know, I look at it as if I weren't every single day. I'm just grateful to be here.
Beautiful. Thank you, Zion, so much for your time and your insights on this. You have a Netflix documentary out, and we will watch you on your trails on to the Olympics. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Lo. That was truly an inspirational story. We had such a great time talking with Zion today and going to different experiences around the Super Bowl. Take a look at what we explored.
The Super Bowl Experience is an interactive theme park open to the general public from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. both weekends leading up to the big game.
Visitors are completely immersed in the NFL world the second they step through the double doors, first greeted by the coveted Vince Lombardi Trophy photo stage. To the left of the stage is NFL's star-studded locker room featuring jerseys, helmets, cleats, and warm-up gear from some of the biggest names in the league. Huge sets have been built to let fans feel like they're on a football field, testing their skills with different challenges like field goal kicks, Hail Mary throws, and the 2-minute drill.
The event is rich in history, too. Exhibits have been built displaying classic jerseys, Super Bowl rings throughout the years, and paragraphs detailing the game's biggest moments. This event is just one of many that the NFL and the City of Los Angeles are putting on the week leading up to the Super Bowl. Be sure to follow Ability Media, Q30 TV, and Quinnipiac University for all exclusive event coverage.
The NFL Experience not only provides entertainment for all of their fans, but they are also giving people an escape from all the action. Culture City is one of the nation's leading nonprofits nonprofits on sensory accessibility and acceptance for those with invisible disabilities. Sensory needs are a medical condition within the brain which makes it difficult to receive and respond to information that comes in through the senses. Culture City addressed this need at the NFL Experience. Justin Moore of Culture City stated that the overall goal is to achieve awareness and also anybody and everybody with sensory needs of any kind. Public Relations Manager Efimia Nikolakis got an up-close, in-person mobile station and how it works. Let's take a look. To find out more about Culture City and everything they have to offer, visit culturecity.org. We love the sensory experience and it has to offer, but now I'm going to throw it over to Vanessa to talk about the Super Bowl halftime show.
Aside from the palpable tension felt between the Bengals and the Rams only 6 days before the big game, many fans are also looking forward to seeing the legendary halftime show. This year's show will include famous singers and rappers such as Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, and for the first time ever, the halftime show will feature American Sign Language performers. Deaf musicians Warren Wawa Snipe and Sean Forbes will interpret the show alongside the headlining artists. This will bring a new level of accessibility to viewers. For headliners Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar, and Snoop Dogg, this performance represents a homecoming, since it will take place right outside their hometowns. Blige is the only artist to have previously performed in the halftime show. This show will also be the third performance in collaboration with Pepsi, the NFL, and Rock Nation. That's all I have for Social Segment. The NFL is offering a way for fans to get 2 free tickets to this year's Super Bowl with the movie poster scavenger hunt. Just like this one next to me, there will be 9 others scattered around LA Live and the Super Bowl Experience. For this year's Super Bowl, the theme art is inspired by the film industry's best movie poster illustrations, ranging from themes of Back to the Future to Stranger Things and more. The artist behind these poster designs is Steve Chorney. He created them to tell the stories of the past Los Angeles Super Bowls with a cinematic illustration. This poster is the 9th one out of the 10 posters. This movie is from the 21st Super Bowl, starring the New York Giants and the Denver Broncos. Let's go see what other ones we can find. Out of the 10 posters, 7 of them are for the past Super Bowls that have been in LA. 1 is for the Bengals, 1 is for the Rams, and 1 is to represent this year's Super Bowl. Here we have another movie poster. This one is the 6th of 10 posters. It's from the 7th Super Bowl featuring the Miami Dolphins and the Washington Redskins. To win, fans must download the NFL One Pass app and scan each QR code from each poster that they find. We hope some lucky fans out there can find all 10. For Q30 TV and Ability Media, I'm Vanessa Blasi.
Welcome back to Coast coverage. It's time to switch gears now over to sports. Earlier today, we got to sit down with NFL veteran reporter and best-selling author Gary Myers to talk to him about his experiences in the NFL. And he gave us a lot of great information about Brady versus Manning, a lot of inside looks at the NFL. But in your opinion, what was the most shocking bit of information that he revealed?
Yeah, I'd say honestly the most shocking fact was that Brady and Manning, obviously we know Brady just recently retired. Peyton Manning's been out of the league since 2016. And, you know, we've seen Peyton and his brother Eli. They have the Manning cast on Monday Night Football throughout the entire NFL season. They had Brady on there, I believe, at least once. And we see they're kind of like friends now that they're both out of the NFL. The most shocking thing that answered the direct question that he revealed was the fact that Brady and Manning were actually friends like during their football careers. Because when, you know, obviously football fans like me and Lo, when we're watching the NFL and we're seeing these huge rivalries, 2 players that played against each other 17 times, including, you know, combined playoffs, regular season, we would never think, oh yeah, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, they're buddies, they're friends, like they can like enjoy a laugh, just kind of have a like nice conversation. We think, oh, they hate each other, they're on the field. Like it's just, it's so crazy to think that 2 guys who are so competitive, so into their sport, can honestly be friends during the season. So to me, that was the most shocking thing he revealed.
And Myers also gave us a little bit of insight to Bill Belichick Belichick and Tom Brady's relationship. Could you speak a little bit to what Myers had commented about that?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised with what he said about that, honestly. I never, in all the years that Brady was in New England it was pretty much 20 years that he was there, I never saw Brady and Belichick, at least again from a very, very, very far outside of perspective of, just watching them on TV during their games, press conferences, etc. I never really saw them as people that had anything more than a working relationship, so I wasn't shocked by that revelation. Belichick, we know he has a reputation of being a very serious, cold guy in interviews, not very personable, you would say. He gives very short, stern answers, always has kind of like a straight face on. And Brady, we've seen now in Tampa, he's more of a lively guy. He likes to kind of speak out about a lot of things. He likes to come at different players. So I think their relationships were always kind of different, and that kind of really explains why they didn't have that close of a relationship. So I wasn't shocked by that revelation either.
Awesome. Yeah. So we heard you asked Myers what he thought his next prediction of the next Brady-Manning duo would be. He mentioned Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But in your opinion, with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen on the table, who is the next quarterback matchup?
That's such a tough question because I think really the next quarterback matchup is going to come out of the AFC. There's so many more young quarterbacks in the AFC. You could say Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, who's in the Super Bowl this year. Again, Mahomes, Allen, etc. In the NFC, there's really not that many young guys. You could say Russell Wilson, Stafford. They're a little bit on the older side. But to answer the question, I think the next big quarterback rivalry in the NFL, it's going to include Patrick Mahomes, but it's not going to include Josh Allen. I think it's going to include Joe Burrow. And I'll kind of get into why I think it's going to be Joe Burrow, because when you hear the word rivalry, you expect a back and forth. You expect, okay, Manning, to go back to Manning and Brady. Manning got the better of him in some years in the playoffs. Brady got the better of him, when he was in Denver, Indy. Bottom line is they both won games against each other. So far, we've seen the only time Josh has gotten the better of Mahomes is one time in the regular season. Mahomes beat them in the shootout this year, 42-36 in the divisional round. They knocked out the Bills last year in the conference championship. So we've seen now Josh Allen lose twice. However, Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, that's a different story. Now, yes, granted, Joe Burrow beat Mahomes twice this year, once in the regular season, once in the playoffs. But I do think Mahomes is going to come back with vengeance next year, and we're going to see them face off in the playoffs, in my opinion, again next year. And I just think there's going to be more of a back and forth and more of a battle with those two guys. I think their personas really, they conflict each other really well. Burrow's, really kind of, he's a swaggy guy. He doesn't really get too high and low with his emotions. He stays level-headed, cool, calm, all that kind of stuff. Mahomes is a little bit different. He does have a little bit more emotion to him in his game, but I do think that Mahomes and Burrow is going to be the next rivalry. Josh Allen, you're a great quarterback. You're going to be there, but I'd go Mahomes and Burrow for that. Yeah.
You heard it here first. Gary Myers says it's going to be Mahomes and Josh Allen. Tino says it's going to be Mahomes and Joe Burrow. And before Gary Myers jumped off the call, we did get to ask him his expert opinion on the Brian Flores lawsuit. Obviously, a lot swirling about that. We asked him two parts. One addressing the racial allegations, and then the second part addressing the tanking allegations. I would like to focus on the second part here.
Yeah, same.
Were you surprised by his answer that he was surprised about the tanking allegations?
No, I wasn't. And, he was surprised. I was surprised. I would venture to say that, everybody in the media industry, from Stephen A. Smith to everybody working at ESPN, Fox Sports, all those different people, I don't know how you couldn't be surprised by this, because not in a million years would I or anybody else, even including yourself, I think, believe that an NFL owner would bribe his coach, and I believe, what was it, he was going to pay him $1,000 for every single loss that he occurred throughout the season. So I just can't believe that you would go to that length to want to tank. I get the whole mindset of, I want a good draft pick. If we're not going to make the postseason, if we're going to have like a, 6-9, 5-10, or 5-11 kind of record, it's like, all right, what's the point? We might as well just go for, 2-14 and then try to get a top 3 pick. But to try to bribe your head coach, who, again, he's fighting for a job. He's trying to compete with all the other coaches in the NFL, and you're going to put not only his job at risk, but your reputation as an organization, as a man, as the owner of the Dolphins at risk, just to try to tank. To me, that made no sense. I wasn't shocked that Myers was surprised by that. And just like the last thing to say, just involving that whole situation, I commend Flores for what he did last season for the Miami Dolphins. You lost 7 games in a row. You come out and your locker room doesn't quit. You motivate your guys, and they come out and we're fighting for a playoff spot down to the last single week in Week 18, the last single game. So I commend him for what he did with the Dolphins. It sucks that he had to get fired and this whole situation kind of came out. It really is unfortunate, but yeah, props to Brian Flores, and yes, that is a huge shock that the owner would try to bribe him to lose games.
Now, we have a lot of content coming out of this week leading up to the Super Bowl, so the best way to bring you guys the most complete coverage of all the action is to divide and conquer. Me and Tino sat down and decided that to cover all the teams and all of the press conferences that are going to be available, I have taken the LA Rams and Tino has taken the Cincinnati Bengals. So with that being said, we had our first chance to interview the team virtually today, and Tino sat down with the Bengals, a few of the players, to talk about what they are expecting for the Super Bowl coming up.
Hey, Joe, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So I got two questions for you. First, you have been fantastic against the blitz this year. I mean, your passer rating is like 20 points higher when you're getting blitzed than when you're not. You had that moment against the Ravens this year where you said can't zero me. So I'm wondering, do you actually like being blitzed? Like, do you prefer to be blitzed?
I just think it depends on the situation. When you blitz, you have to play one-on-one outside, and the receivers that we have makes my job easy. When I do get pressured, they win so fast that I'm able to just get them the ball in space. So, those guys make it easy on me.
So we see that Joe Burrow kind of answered that question there. He was kind of touching on how he kind of handles the blitz, and the fact that he was actually ranked by Pro Football Focus the first among all quarterbacks with an 89.6 passer rating under pressure this season. So Joe Burrow has thrived against pressure, and we saw that honestly in the divisional round game against the Titans when he was sacked 9 times by that defensive front, and somehow, by the grace of God, this man managed to stay level-headed, cool, calm, and collected. I never saw him slam an iPad on the sideline, nothing. Stayed cool, calm, and collected, passed for over 300 yards, and managed to win that game. So to tie it more to the Super Bowl game this weekend, obviously if you follow the NFL, you know the Los Angeles Rams, especially after picking up Von Miller, have probably the best defensive front in football with all-pro defensive tackle Aaron Donald. You have Leonard Floyd on the edge along with Von Miller. Those 3 guys alone can bring in an astronomical amount of pressure that I couldn't even fathom. But I think that Joe Burrow is going to be well equipped to handle it despite not having a strong offensive line. Like we said, Joe Burrow first amongst quarterbacks in terms of passer rating when being pressured. So I don't think it's going to be much of anything that's going to bother Joe Burrow that much.
So talk to me a little bit about the matchup, you versus Jalen Ramsey. Who has the advantage speed-wise with him being a lockdown corner? Thank you.
Yeah, he plays a little catch technique, so he trusts his speeds a lot. So I don't know how fast he runs in his 40, but we're most likely going to find out on game day.
So here we saw Jamar Chase get asked about, I think, probably the biggest matchup of Super Bowl weekend, which is going to be star all-pro wide receiver Jamar Chase, who is a rookie, by the way. I'm going to throw that out there. Did go for 1,500 receiving yards, pretty impressive, against arguably the best cornerback in the NFL in Jalen Ramsey. Now, I'm here to kind of break down what Jamar Chase said in response to the question and break down that matchup in general, just to give you a glimpse of what you could expect this weekend. So Jamar Chase, the Bengals have used him in a variety of ways. They've used him on a lot of screen passes. They run him on different slant routes, go routes, post routes, all different kind of schemes within their offense. Now, Jamar Chase, in my opinion, has been a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL this year, along with Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson. He's been extremely dominant. Just you look at his numbers, the way he's played. He had a 266 receiving yard game against the Kansas City Chiefs. That was absurd. 3 touchdowns in that game. But yeah, I think that the Bengals just really know how to utilize him around the field, put him in motion, put him in the best spots to succeed with Joe Burrow in that LSU connection. Now moving on to the defensive side of the ball with Jalen Ramsey, my main thing here is Jalen Ramsey does not move around the field. So if you watch games when he's gone up against Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, big-time receivers, when teams like the Packers and the Vikings and even the Bengals throughout the entire season have motioned their star wide receivers around the field, you notice that Jalen Ramsey is not following him around the field. He stays on one side. He stays put. So watch out for that this weekend, because that could play a huge role in how the Rams, if they use zone coverage to kind of throw Jamar Chase off his game, or if they stick with man and just when they put him in motion, they shift the coverage. Just keep an eye out for that, because the matchup is big, but if they're shifting Chase around and Ramsey really isn't moving around the field to cover him at all times, we may not see as much one-on-one coverage between those two as you might think. And that's all I have for the Bengals interview for what I was able to gather today. I'm going to throw it to Rams beat reporter Lo Yarnell for her coverage on the Rams this morning.
Now, there was a lot of Zoom rooms when I jumped in there, with all 10 players and the coach, of course, but I was drawn to Odell Beckham Jr.'s Zoom room. Now, he was a player that wasn't technically on this team at the beginning of the season. He was later signed, and here he is in his first Super Bowl appearance, and one reporter asked him, "What are you doing to get ready for the big game?"
Just staying within a routine. Trying not to overcomplicate it in your mind. It is just one more game, but it's just a very important game. It's just a way to look at it, and this is something you've always dreamed of. So truly a tremendous opportunity. Just don't make it too big in your own head about what's actually going on. So it's been a pretty normal week.
And I mean, this is classic OBJ answer. What else can you say beyond "I'm not doing anything different than what I'm currently doing"? That is all you can do when going into a game with the media attention and the clout that the Super Bowl has. And OBJ himself is a man that carries a lot of clout. I mean, we can all think of, there's a reason why his name is a verb in certain plays in the game. So I am very excited to see what he's going to do. I can't help but call a little bit of, I don't know about that he's cool as a cucumber going in there. He has been in big scenarios before, but the Super Bowl is a beast that clearly stands alone amongst all sports across in the world. It is the biggest single event in sports history. So yes, he could say that he's treating it the same and we're going into it the same, but there's going to be nerves there, and he's going to have to work through those nerves because, again, he's also playing in front of a hometown for the first time for him. But another question that he was asked was, what is one word to describe his season so far, or a word that he feels describes him the best?
And I remember watching the Super Bowl last year, my ACL, and it wasn't the best feeling in the world to have to watch that. And I said, I'm going to play in that Super Bowl next year in Los Angeles. Like, who is supposed to be for me? Like, I'm supposed to be playing in it. And to be here, to not knowing that I wasn't going to be in Cleveland, that I was going to be on the Los Angeles Rams, like I could have never seen it. The one thing I've learned about myself is how resilient I truly am.
And I do have to agree with him on this one. I mean, when I think of OBJ beyond beautiful catches and amazing plays, I also think of, this is a guy who kind of goes places and he gets the credit when he explodes and he goes viral. He is someone who I would say, in terms of popularity in the league, while there is an overarching knowledge of who OBJ is, he's streaky because of the teams that he's been on, the tools that he's had, the quarterbacks that he has been trying to receive from. So he's in a great position here going into the Super Bowl, playing in front of a home crowd at SoFi Stadium with Matthew Stafford as his quarterback. And Stafford's got other options in wide receivers. I cannot say that it's going to be OBJ in the big moment. You've got Carson Kupp, and he's fantastic. But with that being said, OBJ has absolutely earned his moment right now that he has with the Rams playing at home in the Super Bowl, and he is resilient. And that's all for the Beat Reporter segments for this show. Stay tuned because we will bring you an update every show with new stuff that we learn in the press conferences. And that's all the time we have for tonight. Make sure to follow Ability Media and Q30 on socials to stay up to date on all of our coverage for press conferences and events this week in Los Angeles. For Vanessa Blasi, Santino Mayoni, I'm Lo Yarnell. Have a great night.